Hey, so if you're in the market for a mirrorless camera, there is a lot of choices out there nowadays, and they are terrific. But there's so many things to think about. Some of them, the things you might want to consider are both price and capabilities. Well, one thing you might want to think about is getting a camera that is not brand new and the newest camera on the market. Because by doing that, you'll be able to get something with great features and a lower price. By getting a camera that's just a couple years older, you can get something that has amazing features like the Sony A6000. Now, this has been around for a couple years, but at the time it came out, it was the cream of the crop, one of the best mirrorless cameras out there. And it has great features. But now the price has come down significantly because there are newer cameras that are basically the ones that are costing more. So let's take a look today at the Sony A6000 and some of its capabilities. So when the Sony A6000 first came out, it was reviewed on so many reputable sites and they just loved it. It is still a great camera. So let's take a look at a few of the things. The first thing is the price. Now for the body alone, because this is a interchangeable lens camera, for the body alone right now, at the time of this recording, it's only $500, which is pretty significantly low for an APS-C size mirrorless camera. Now if you bought it as a kit with a 16 to 50 millimeter lens, it's still only $650. And that is a great deal. So let's take a look at the outside of it. Now, as you can see, it's really small and it's very compact. This makes for a really discreet camera. Now remember, this is as capable as many DSLRs, but it's so small that it looks like it's just a compact point and shoot camera. It's got a really modern look, and it's got the eyepiece off to one side, which has one small advantage. That means if you're taking pictures with it, your nose isn't right in the middle of the camera this way. So it's got that's a nice little advantage, and I really like the eyepiece because now you're not looking at this glary screen, you can look inside the eyepiece. A few other things you should know about and why this is such a competent camera. Number one, the size of the sensor is an APS-C size sensor, and this sensor is actually larger than many of the consumer level DSLRs such as the 7D, the 70D, etc. So it takes some pretty decent pictures in low light, etc., just like a DSLR. The other thing is the autofocus. This thing has 179 phase detect autofocus points. Compare that to the only 19 autofocus points that is found on the Canon 7D, and that's pretty remarkable. You know, the other day I tested out the autofocus system and it is pretty fast. In fact, what I did was I tested it out on some pretty fast moving objects, being my wife and my son, and I got some awesome results. As I tracked along, it clicked away and it got some decent pictures at that speed. One thing I like about the camera is it's got a built-in pop-up flash. So if you press this button here, you get a little pop-up flash, and it's kind of cool because if you're indoors you can actually tilt it so it does bounce flash off of a ceiling, which is really nice and changes the quality of the lighting. The other thing is this camera happens to have a Hotshoe, which extends the capabilities of your flash because now you can attach a flash, you can attach a transmitter, and it really allows you to get some very different kinds of looks just because of that Hotshoe. Something else it has is a tilting LCD screen, which is really nice. Now, it may seem like just a gimmick, but I use it all the time. If you're shooting way down low, instead of getting your body way down low and your eye right there, you can just look at that tilting LCD screen. Or you can tilt it this way and you can get it way above your head and also shoot. So that's a really nice feature to have. Another thing that's really cool, and I alluded to it earlier, is the frame rate. Now this thing will actually shoot at 11 frames per second. So here, take a listen and see, you can probably hear this. Okay, 11 frames a second. That's faster than a lot of DSLRs. So that way you can capture action shots and things that are moving really fast. So one of the things I mentioned before that I like is the eyepiece. Now this one has an OLED or OLED eyepiece, and it's just okay. It allows you to see, and it's certainly much better than trying to see off of the glary background, but the resolution is not great, and that's one of the things that people have complained about on the A6000. But still, you can frame your shot, you can see the images there. It tends to jiggle just a little bit, and you get a little bit of lag, but you can certainly frame your shot and see it. And again, it's my preference instead of using the LCD if I don't have to, especially in bright light like today. As far as some of the other things it's capable of doing, it will record at full HD or 1080p video. This also is capable of Wi-Fi connection, which is really handy nowadays, as well as NFC or near field communication, which allows you to communicate with certain handheld devices. The final thing is it's got something called a Bi-on-ZX, some kind of processor, which is really great for processing low light images. Now, as far as mirrorless cameras goes, or actually any camera, for me, the deal killer is if it doesn't have some of these features, and this one does. It has the ability to shoot in manual, shutter speed priority mode, aperture speed priority mode, program mode, and you're able to do exposure compensation. That, for me, if a camera doesn't have that, that's going to be a deal killer. And the other deal killer for me is, as I've mentioned before, is that Hotshoe. This camera also allows you to shoot in RAW, which is really important to me because it generates files that allow a lot of latitude in post-processing. The other thing I like about the Sony line is it has a great set of lenses, and the selection continues to grow, but the lenses right now are pretty good, pretty impressive for this up-and-coming mirrorless camera model. Now, one thing a lot of people talk about with mirrorless cameras is the battery life, and it is true. Because of the design of the mirrorless cameras, that sensor is always on, and they suck up batteries pretty quickly. So you're going to want to get extra batteries, and that's the case with any mirrorless cameras compared to a DSLR. One thing I don't like about the Sony, it doesn't come with an external battery charger. What that means is you do get a little cable, but you have to plug the entire camera into the wall to charge the battery that's inside, and that has some limitations. Fortunately, there are a lot of off-brand camera batteries that you can buy. For instance, Wasabi is an excellent brand, and usually when you buy those batteries, it also comes with an external battery charger, which is really nice. The other thing I mentioned earlier was the lens, the kit lens bundled with the camera if you buy it this way. It's a 16 to 50 millimeter 3.5 to 5.6 lens, and I'll just tell you right now, it's okay. I mean, it's a terrific lens to get you started, and you can start off with this lens and get some awesome pictures, but it's not a great lens. But the fact that it comes with a camera for about $150 higher than you would if you just got the body alone is a pretty good deal, so something to consider. So in my opinion, the Sony A6000 is a fantastic camera. It's only a couple years old, but the features are awesome, as we've discussed earlier in this video. Now, this is a lot of camera to grow into. It's not going to hold you back. If you want to learn about cameras and you want to get into mirrorless, this is a fantastic camera, and you just can't beat the price right now. Hey, for more information and resources and to learn more about how to get the most out of your mirrorless camera, head over to pocketlenses.com. See you there.